Hi everyone, I'm Maria Killam, the true color expert, and welcome to Renovate with Confidence. Focus on finishes for renovations. I'm really excited to share with you today my 10-step color confidence method. And once I walk you through this system, you'll be able to apply it to your own home when you're planning your renovation. Here I am wearing one of my favorite colors in my True Color Expert Academy trainings. Here we're doing some exercises on finishes because that's a big part of the hands-on training we do in my live courses is working with my large color boards. Last week we had to make sure the way you see color was changed forever. So you had a transformation around how color works, and this week you'll have a transformation around the choices you'll make in renovations. This week I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step for renovations, and you're going to love this method because it will save you so much money and mistakes you might have otherwise made. From our first session, I wanted you to notice what the undertone was of the rooms you were looking at and then take a guess to see what the color was on the walls. That's why my system is so powerful even working online, because once you get what green beige looks like, green beige is green beige. You'll see it in tile, you'll see it in granite, and there are finite number of neutrals as you learned last week, and that just makes choosing everything in life so much easier once you know what they are. So I'm going to show you lots of things you shouldn't do in your renovation during this webinar, and it might highlight something you've already done. And you might start thinking, there is definitely something wrong here with my house, with my bathroom. Maybe I hate this training. So I just want to reassure you, I had the same experience when I was working on my landscaping renovation with my landscape architect. One day we were chatting on the phone and she said, Maria, I'll tell you what really bugs me about your house. Your stovepipe sticking out of your roof. And I immediately ran to the front of my house to see what she was talking about. Well, I hadn't noticed those stovepipes that were supposed to be chimneys but weren't, because there were so many other things about our ugly landscaping that I was so busy focused on. So we all have to learn at some point. If you feel like you've made some mistakes, well, join the club, because we all have to. So I want you to consider that maybe there's nothing wrong and maybe there's just something more beautiful that you could install the next time around. Working out of a paint store, lots of people would walk in with their boxes of tile, and during the thousands of consultations I did in my homes and the countless customers that would walk in the store with their tile samples, I used to think there must be a trick to this. I must just not have enough training. I don't know how to put pattern tile and backsplash together in flooring. I don't know how to do that. But it wasn't until I was in thousands of homes doing consultations that I started to see that actually there is no magic way to do it. There's what's called a better solution called don't do it. And so I'm going to be talking about that today. The difference between renovations and new builds. When you're doing a renovation, you're basically looking at all the changes you need to make to incorporate what's currently in your home. You know that can of worms conversation people talk about when they're doing renovations? Oh, we changed the carpet, but then it made the molding look terrible, so we had to change that too. We ripped out the vanity, but then the rest of the bathroom looked bad, so we had to keep going. So there's a conversation I want you to hear called moving forward. There's a fine line between putting something new in your house that makes something else look old, or putting something new in your house that's necessary because you're moving forward in your renovation. So we're going to talk about that. And then next week, we're going to talk about, or in the next video training session, we're going to talk about new builds. And this is going to apply to you if you're doing something like completely renovating your kitchen and great room. If that's the case, you're in the same position as someone who's building a new house because you don't need to consider what's already in the rest of your space in the same way you do when you're planning a renovation. Really, what you need for a new build is the step-by-step, what you'll do first and what you'll do second. And I'll walk you through all of that in the next training video. I get emails like this one all the time. This one isn't actually related to the images you're looking at right now, but bear with me. Help! I just installed granite and I hate it. We couldn't make up our minds because I like Whitney Cambria and my husband likes super white granite. I feel like we've done everything wrong. We put in cherry cabinets and cherry floors everywhere 10 years ago and we wanted to change them. So I painted the upper cabinets cloud white and the bottoms a black brown. Now my countertops look like a cheap laminate. It's way too busy and there's nothing we can do. The kitchen is tiny and the granite costs $6,000 and that's a lot of money for me. I had a decorator come over and didn't like the advice to install the same color backsplash with dark grout and paint the walls revere pewter. I feel like I'm always picking the wrong thing. I feel stuck and I want to throw up. Do you have any suggestions other than selling, haha, or ripping up my floors and countertops? Maybe if I put a lot of stuff on the counters. I like the white and the sparkly knobs, but that's about it. Please help. My husband and I don't like each other a lot right now. So here's the thing. The kitchen on the right, which some of you have seen, was sent to me by a very generous reader who shared her renovation with me. She had a kitchen designer who was clearly a cabinet designer but not a color designer by any means. She did not help the homeowner with her color choices. She left her on her own to make all her finished decisions, and she ended up with this really dark pink beige floor with the gold yellow granite countertop, and every single day she hates her kitchen. The kitchen on the left just looks like whoever did this kitchen picked their favorite things and decided they all had to be in the same kitchen. This is what I'd like to save you from doing so that you can actually walk into your house every day and love your house. Here's the thing I've noticed in all my years of working with color. People in general are so committed to being safe in their furnishings, but then they're willing to take a walk on the wild side when it comes to their hard finishes. And that's kind of a backwards way to do it. And here's what I figured out why people do that. If you're not a decorator, you might not know how to pull a room together so it looks like a magazine, but anyone can pick a creative backsplash tile, right? Anybody can choose a strip of accent tile for their surround or the latest, greatest, trendiest tile for their backsplash, like in this image. So I'm going to talk about this a little later, but also when you're looking at hard finishes, it starts looking really boring if you're only looking at a wood flooring sample for your kitchen, a solid quartz sample for your countertop, and then a subway tile for your backsplash. I mean, that doesn't look interesting at all. And that's when I think people start thinking they need to make it more interesting. Plus, how many kitchens or bathrooms does the average person get to actually choose in their lifetime? For many of us, it's one, right? Just like some people say it's only when you build your third house that you get it right because you've made all your mistakes by then. It probably takes one kitchen getting it wrong and putting in everything you love before you get to, well, that was too busy and that was too trendy and I didn't really like that. Which leads me to my next slide. So here's what 5.5 years of blogging has taught me about backsplash and accent tiles. In the past 5.5 years, accent tile trends have changed 3 times. When I first started blogging, we were heavily into the brown trend. Everyone was installing tiny mosaic tiles. I'm showing gray mosaic tile because it's still alive and well, but back then we were putting it everywhere. That was the big accent tile of the moment. And then a couple of years later, pencil tile came along. At least it did in my world. When I first blogged about that in 2011, people were like, "Oh, Maria, this pencil tile's been around for a while." And I thought, well, maybe I blocked it out because the minute I saw it, it was too busy. So it's a really contemporary look. Most of the time, I see it installed. I think it's crazy busy and just screams, "Look at me, look at me." And now the biggest trendy look of the moment is the laser cut marble and tile you see on the bottom right picture. This tells me that accent tile doesn't even have the lifespan of a trend. A trend in home design lasts about 10 years. Each color trend has a lifespan of about 10 years. Since accent tile has changed 3 times in 5 years, this tells me that it's a fad. So even though you probably might really love this bathroom I'm showing you right now on the right, guaranteed a few years down the road, you might not love it anymore because something new and more exciting will come along and this will now feel dated to you. I look and look and look. I'm always trying to find the bathroom or the kitchen that actually has accent tile that has been used correctly, and I found this one yesterday, so I had to show it to you. See how carefully this bathroom has been designed? The oriental vanity and all the other finishes to go along with it. Here, this mosaic tile is perfect, but this is really, really rare. In the average builder bathroom, the same strip of mosaic accent tile does not look like this. So I'm giving you a little subway tile alert right now, and what that means is I'll be mentioning it quite a bit, but hear me out. Here's when you know that something's classic, when you can't really pin down the era of when it came along. Subway tile's been around forever. I know people love to scream that it's out, but it's not. When you put in the obligatory strip of pencil tile like the one on the right, your bathroom is forever this yellow beige color to coordinate with the pencil tile. The day you want to change your bathroom color because happily the rest of the surround tile is really neutral, now you either have to paint it or change it or cover it up with a shower curtain. Now there's something you have to do before you can change the color unless you just choose to ignore it. The kitchen on the left, this generous reader sent me, and she said, Maria, we're ripping out this kitchen, and you're welcome to use this kitchen as an example of what not to do. This was a renovation that was completed right before this homeowner bought this apartment in New York City, and you can see that the countertops are kind of yellow and the backsplash is pinky, and you can see that it breaks the rules we talked about last week about contrast. Really, if this kitchen had a white countertop and a white backsplash to coordinate with the white appliances, it would have looked a lot better, a lot fresher, and the homeowner might not have been in such a hurry to rip it out. She might have just wanted to paint the cabinets a different color because they're so earthy. But this is the kitchen you'll see everywhere, much more than a classic kitchen. Classic kitchens and bathrooms only seem to be found on movie sets and in magazines, and that's what I want you to have. This is a recent client's new home. You can see the lovely classic entry, the natural light at the top of the stairs, the light at the end of the hall, the medium brown floors. I probably would have walked into this house and just by looking at the entry, I would have said, I love this house. This is the house that I want. Here's the living room on the left and the dining room on the right. And look at the lovely classic mantel with what looks like a honed black granite surround. This is great. So far, the house is great, right? But then we get to the bathrooms. And this is what we all inherit every single day when we buy a home that isn't brand new. There are 5 bathrooms in this home. These are the first 3. And you can see that no one thought about flow when they were making changes or when they were installed in the first place. You can see that this powder room has this 80s floor tile, which I've seen in so many 80s homes. Here we have a 90s wall color. Sage green came through in the 90s. Right before the brown trend came in the early 2000s. And then here in the middle, you can tell that the floor tile is 80s and the granite is probably new. It was probably installed to sell the house. In the bathroom on the right, everything here, including the custom vine mural, is obviously original to the 80s. Here's the master bathroom, and you can see that whoever chose these finishes tried really, really hard to match the countertop to the floor tile, but they failed because the countertop is more yellow and the floor tile is more gray. I'm going to show you a little further in this video training exactly which colors I chose for these bathrooms because this homeowner was not prepared to begin renovating her bathrooms immediately. She had lots of other things she wanted to spend her money on. If I had a house that looked like this and I didn't have the really bad landscaping that I had in my house that I had to take care of, I'd also want to decorate. I would spend my money on making my living room areas look really great first. I currently have 3 unrenovated bathrooms that need to be done, but how much time do you spend in your bathroom? These are not emergency rooms for a lot of people like a kitchen is, for example. So my client just wanted some color ideas that would make the existing bathrooms look the best that they could. Here's one more inherited bathroom, and actually if you look at this bathroom, the vanity is the thing that makes it look really dated. Just by replacing the vanity, including a new mirror and new lighting, this bathroom is the only one you could live with because it has the neutral white tile. Don't expect a builder to get it right either. I have never spent as much time looking at builder sites as I did when I wrote this training. And here you can see on the right that the contrast rule that we talked about most definitely went out the door. It would have looked so much better if there was a balance of light and dark here, but all we have is a sea of pink beige with the obligatory strip of accent tile going right through the middle of the kitchen. I had posted an image of a builder bathroom right beside an image of a bathroom designed by my good friend Lauren Lease with an old vintage dresser in my blog post when I first introduced this training, and someone posted a comment saying, well, that's nice, Maria, but what do we do with our builder bathroom? Because we're not all going to do this. So in our next video training, I'll show you exactly what to do. Here we're going to start by walking through my color confidence method. Here are all the 10 steps. You should have received a download with the worksheet so you can go through your house step by step and come up with a plan. Number 1, clarify your goals, focus on what matters. What we all want in our home is a look and a feel, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing you're going to do, I think it's really important to list your dreams versus your needs, like what you absolutely need. When I first moved into this house 2 years ago, I wanted to take out the flooring, the molding, the kitchen, the landscape was terrible, it had to go, the bathrooms. It would have been fabulous if all that could have happened at the same time, but in reality, what happened in the first year is we replaced the kitchen, the moldings, and the floors. I wanted my house to feel fresh and warm and cozy and colorful, and that's what I created. I think the more you can articulate what the look and feel is, then it's easier to make decisions for your home as you go along. The second step is organizing what's staying and what's going. You want to do that from the perspective of, is this your for now house or your forever house? You've heard this distinction yesterday and today, but there's so many different ways it can be applied. For example, here in my inherited dated main bathroom, you can see that the homeowner matched the pink beige of the bathtub and shower insert for the lower walls in this room, and overall, it was just a really sad looking bathroom with the existing colors. My list here as to what's staying is the tub, the chair rail, the vanity, the mirror. I kept the mirror because it didn't bother me that much since the bathroom needed to be renovated anyway. What's going was the extra medicine wall cabinet you can see on the left, the dated 80s bar lights, the towel rods, and of course the wall color. You saw the after picture of my bathroom last week. If this is your for now house, you might make slightly different choices than if it's your forever house. For example, depending on where you live in the country, the gray trend will arrive at different times. New trends come to the East Coast first, where people have the most money and can introduce them right away. Then they hit the West Coast, and then they trickle down to the middle of the country. And if you're renovating your house and you're thinking of installing a gray vanity because you're at the beginning of the gray trend, the chances of most people loving that are really, really good. If you are at the end of the trend, you might want to stick to something like the bathroom on the right, something more classic. The question you might be asking yourself is, how do I know where I'm at in the trend cycle? So 4 ways to know where you are is to look at what your friends are doing, what your local designers are doing, and what's been featured in local design magazines and local home shows. It's kind of like this. If you install this bathroom right now on the West Coast, it would instantly make your new renovation look like it was 10 years old, because that's how long this trend has been here. Well, more than 10 years. This more earthy, chocolate brown, gold, all of these colors that were really big in the Tuscan brown trend. If this is your forever house, you're still going to want to embrace subway tiles so it has some longevity. But if you're someone who really, really loves turquoise and you love this turquoise sink, and this is your forever house, well, then you could have it in your forever house. But would it be something I would suggest? It is a personal choice that you would make in a forever house, but if you want to turn around and sell it in a couple of years, then that becomes a consideration a new homeowner takes into account if they don't like that color at all. When you're renovating, you want your house to look like everything was installed at the same time. You don't want to open this can of worms where you replace one thing and everything else around it looks really bad, where people can play a party game by asking new counter, old floor. The only time you're not going to be concerned about that is when whatever you're adding moves your house forward, and then you're just going to ignore something else for the time being because you know that it's coming. Here we have an original 50s kitchen that has been painted, new trendy backsplash tile, stone counters installed, and here's the thing. Painting an original 50s kitchen is not going to make the kitchen look like it's not a 50s kitchen. You could skip the stone, you can paint the cabinets for sure, but a new homeowner is going to want to come in and rip this kitchen out, and now they have to deal with the stone countertop. In this particular case, you can see that there was no consideration given to the more earthy floor tile, which actually looks dirty in comparison to the screaming white cabinets. But besides that, I would only put stone cabinets in a kitchen like this if it's your forever house and you're not going to change your kitchen, but you really want to have stone. Well, then you should absolutely have that. But is this a good choice if it's not your forever house? I mean, stone countertops are kind of expensive to install because you're still going to be left with a kitchen that looks like it's a 50s kitchen. Here we have a 70s kitchen that really just looks even more 70s now that it's been painted brown. If you took a 70s or 80s kitchen and painted it chocolate brown, you're not going to get a newer, more updated look. You're just going to get a more dated look. Here with this 80s kitchen, you can see that the floor tile is original to when this kitchen was installed in the 80s, and you can see that the countertops are new. The other problem you have if you wanted to paint the cabinets is if you painted the cabinets cream to coordinate with the countertops, now it wouldn't work with the whitish pinky gray floors. And if I chose a white to match the floors, now it's going to look wrong with the countertops. If you're not going to change a floor tile like this one, that's when you need to be really careful with the other choices that you're going to add that are new to this same space. My friend Julia from Hooked on Houses had this bathroom that I thought was so great. She took out the carpet and she put in this hex tile. Here's a great question to ask. Now, does this bathroom have a yesterday and today look? Maybe a little bit, because we weren't doing this kind of tile with this kind of vanity, but the vanity is really so benign and neutral that you really can't get offended by it. I think this is a really versatile and great tile that works in so many bathrooms. Here's another type of tile where you could ask yourself, when was this tile popular? It's been a timeless vintage tile for a long time. Here was another client who had a very similar countertop to the master that you just saw. She wanted to install hex tile, and I took her update one step further and showed her a vanity that I found from Amazon. For those of you who don't know that, you can buy an off-the-shelf vanity for a more reasonable price than getting it made and getting a piece of stone installed. And here, if her old shower was staying, she could cover it with a shower curtain. She could have new tile, a new vanity, and right away have a new bathroom. A really common mistake that a lot of people make is not realizing their existing banister might clash with new flooring if it doesn't match. Here you can see that new light laminate flooring was installed with the original banister, which either now needs to be restained or painted white, or something's got to happen, because again, you'll end up with a look called yesterday and today. On your worksheet, make sure you list for each room what's going, what's staying for now, and what's staying forever. And this will help you make choices as you move along in your renovation. Number 3 is navigate the budget. It's really tempting to come up with a renovation budget and forget that there's so much more to making your space beautiful and happy. You want to think about allocating your budget so you have some money left at the end so you can create a look and a feel. Once you renovate and install brand new finishes, your existing furniture will usually look old and bad in comparison to all of your new finishes. And it's the decorating and finishing of your living room or your family room or the space where we spend all our time. And this is where you want to create a look and a feel. The reason why I like this step a lot is that I like to have it all. I don't want to wait forever for everything. So here's a good example. I have a friend who's a mom, but she'll drop $500 on a party dress that she'll wear once during the year. She'll spend $600 on a pair of shoes to go with the dress, while all of her hanging out mom clothes are from Costco. So look at it in terms of just allocating your budget. Instead of dropping the wad on really expensive mosaic tile like in the image on the right, consider something that will look just as beautiful like the bathroom on the left. The more decisions you can make and have confidence in, the more you'll be able to manage your budget and then still have enough left over to have drapes and a throw pillow too. And here's the other thing you need to allocate your budget for. You need to know that you're going to have stuff happen that you have no control over. You're going to tell your contractor to do one thing and he's going to hear the complete opposite. The first thing to remember is never go on vacation when you're renovating or building your house. So many times people will tell horror stories about their contractor or subtrades, and yes, there are the stories of when they run off with your money, but a contractor is not a designer. If you're not managing everything he's doing, every step of the way to make sure it looks exactly the way you want, you will surely end up with something you don't want. It's kind of like this. My contractor was working on something in my house during our landscaping project where we had taken out our front and backyard. Everything was mud, and our brand new concrete driveway had just been installed. We'd ordered a load of topsoil for the garden beds, and I said to my contractor, I'm going out, but the topsoil is coming, so can you tell the driver to dump the soil beside the driveway? I didn't want the soil dumped on the newly poured driveway that was still curing. When we came home that afternoon, the new soil was beside the driveway all right, but it was on the road, not beside the driveway on our yard, on the already ripped out front lawn that was just dirt anyway. But when he heard beside the driveway, he took that to mean in front of the driveway on the road. So that's what's going to happen with your contractor and why it's so powerful to draw them a picture for every detail. The more you draw, the less mistakes that are made and the more clear your communication can be. Here's another story that illustrates this. See the small image on the right here? The way the corner of the tile is cut, it's called a picture frame tile installation with the mitered corner. Now, I'm not a renovator. I'm not managing people's renovations every day and designing tile layouts. That's not what I do. So when I saw the tile installer had put this tile in a bathroom that I'd seen, I thought this was a great idea. And I had my tile installer put the subway tile all around my kitchen. You can see how my tile goes all the way up to the ceiling. And I asked him to use this picture framing style all the way around the edge. And I also asked him to install it this way around the window. And guess what happened? Some of the tile ended up needing to be cut narrower so that it could still be in the brick pattern formation on the rest of the wall. And it just got worse and worse. When it was all done, it looked awful because there were so many little cut up pieces all around the window especially, and I hated it. I called him and asked him to take it down and he refused. He said, "No, I'm not taking it down." Contractors absolutely hate to redo their work. And then I realized at 11 p.m. at night when I came home, because up until that point, I was telling myself I could live with it. Once it was all decorated, it wouldn't be so bad and no one's going to notice. Well, I would notice. I'm going to see this every day. I realized at 11 p.m. at night that the mortar wasn't dry yet. So at 11 p.m., I'm taking the towel down. I'm crying. I'm washing the grout. I took it all down, took a picture of it, emailed it to my guy and said, "Can you please come and put it back up?" And he did. So you have to know this is going to happen and you have to allow for it in your budget. It happens to everybody, even designers. Last year I met a designer who does a lot of high-end renovations. She told me she supervised $1 million renovation and ended up spending $40,000 of her own money fixing mistakes. And so now she doesn't manage projects anymore, so she doesn't have that liability. But it happens to everybody. And it's why you have to put that in your budget. Don't think you're the only one this is going to happen to. Don't think if you knew better there wouldn't be any mistakes that happen and you have to change something. The time to fix the mistake is when it's happening. You just have to realize that you need to take steps to fix it. So what I'm trying to save you from in this webinar is having an experience like the one in the email I just read you, where the granite goes in and it's crazy and not what you wanted it to be. All those things that happen when you're on your own trying to make all these decisions. Here on the left side is the builder bathroom that I showed earlier when I wrote this post on my blog. Upon looking at builder home after builder home, there's a lot of mismatched stuff happening out there. And here's what you can do. What you still need to do, even if you're choosing builder finishes, like the bathroom on the upper right, you can actually see, now that I'm pointing it out, that the surround tile is slightly more purple than the granite on the vanity. But once you paint this bathroom blue or green, you have options now because the tile is so neutral, you can have it look like the one on the bottom right. You can change the mirror and the bar lights, add a new shower curtain. I mean, the right shower curtain can even save a bathroom, just like the right throw pillow in your living room. The difference between the really boring looking bathroom on the upper right and the bathroom on the left is that with the bathroom on the left, you're stuck to that wall color forever. That wall color isn't even right. You can see that the wall color is more taupey pinky and the floor is more green. Really, a better color for this bathroom would have been something like bleaker beige to pull that bathroom together. But now that's your wall color forever. And there's really nothing you can do to make it more interesting. If I had a choice between the builder bathroom on the left and the builder bathroom on the right, the one on the right is the one I would choose. When you're navigating your budget and you need to be thinking, should I spend my money on the obligatory accent strip? Or do I spend my money on the really expensive slab of backsplash marble? The kitchen on the bottom right is really beautiful, but it's really expensive. And if you don't have a lot of money to spend on absolutely everything to have a house that looks exactly the way you want, then maybe the classic white subway tile is the option. This way you have more money left at the end for other things like decorating that can really make your house look beautiful. Then the question is, do I install the splurge backsplash or the save backsplash? How do I get a timeless look while I'm at it? Tray ceilings. There's really nothing beautiful and attractive about a double tray ceiling. This is not even painted right. You want to paint those steps the same color as the walls. I had a consultation with a bachelor a while ago who was building a brand new house, and he was showing me all the finishes he was considering. We were creating a conceptual plan for his house, and he had me take a look at the builder's website to show me what type of home he'd be getting by looking at all the pictures on the site. The builder had installed these double tray ceilings in every single room in the house, and I said, don't spend your money there. There's nothing fabulous about this. Everyone just scratches their head and wonders how to paint it. It's not necessary, and it's not the place to spend your money. I've also been in so many homes where it's clear there isn't a big budget. I know that once they're finished the reno, they'll be out of money. I live in Vancouver, and real estate here is a lot of money, and I see this a lot. So when people ask me, should I put in crumb molding? I say, well, if you're doing it yourself, you're going to save some money for sure, and you're still looking at a minimum of $500 that could probably be spent somewhere else and give you more bang for your buck. So think about where you can splurge, where you can save. If you spread your money around, you can have it all. I'd rather you have it all. That's what I like to do. So after you're done your renovation, you still have money left in your home to create a look and a feel. Step number 4, focus on creating flow. This is where you'll need to understand that your house is not a series of islands like the 5 bathrooms I showed you at the beginning of this presentation, where there'd been no thought to how they work into the style of the home and no thought about relating one bathroom to the other. When I did my renovation, there's the bathroom on the right where you saw the before picture earlier. A little paint, new hardware, a new bar light, and some new accessories and carpet. This all went a long way to making this bathroom my favorite bathroom in the whole house. So here's how you should plan your renovation. If you're renovating your kitchen first, and it's going to be white, but your bathroom is cream, that's fine because you're moving forward. The same thing is true if you're in a brand new house with cream bathrooms you're not renovating, but you're putting in a white kitchen because that's where the trends are, and you want to move forward, it's fine. Your trim color will be cream in your bathrooms, and one side of your door is going to be cream, and the other side is going to be white. That's perfectly fine because you've got the door to shut. There's nothing worse than going into a room that's full of earthy, creamy finishes and colors along with screaming white molding. That's when the bathroom molding needs to be cream. The other place where we're going to create flow is here. I took this image from a book of 1950s design. Back then, it was really revolutionary to use flooring to differentiate multi-purpose rooms. Up until then, the kitchen was crammed in the corner of the house and not the great room concept we have today. The days of defining different spaces with flooring are over. The problem with tile is it's always trendy and often so blotchy. If you choose tile with no pattern in it, then it becomes really modern. If you have a traditional house and you need tile, it has to usually have some kind of pattern in it. Here you can see there are 5 different flooring choices. There's the entry tile with carpet on the right. There's carpet up the stairs and then wood flooring with more tile in the kitchen. Classic would have been wood throughout rather than the different and bossy flooring choices. The wall color relates to the tile, but there isn't a lot of choice to have because you have so many different types of flooring. The tile is neutral enough that you could introduce gray as your wall color, but it's still not a beautiful space. In this builder home, we have the hallway that has been completely stuck in the middle that divides all the hardwood wrapping around. It completely chops up the flooring. It's totally bossy, and there's nothing classic about this tile. Now you need to figure out what wall color will help make this tile disappear. And currently, it's pretty pink beige. So there's nothing beautiful about this tile here. This is simply not the place to spend your money. This is where I want to introduce you to the principles of classic and timeless. What that looks like is medium brown wood floors, simple lines and millwork, quiet, more subtle patterns in tile. I can't stress this enough. Boring now equals timeless later. And always. The question to ask yourself is this timeless? When did this become trendy? Is it trendy now? Or has it been around for a long time? That's how you know whether it's going to stand the test of time. In general, wood floors can be treated like a pair of blue jeans. In general, right? and I'll talk about that more in the next session. Medium brown really is the new classic floor stain color. It looks beautiful with fresh colors and earthy colors. Doesn't really matter which trend you're in, this color's great. The problem with installing espresso brown floors is that they really speak to the brown trend. Also, you still can see every single speck of everything. Medium brown is the new classic because we've been looking at all the orangey oak floors for 30 or 40 years. This is the new timeless color. And if you're not buying a pre-finished floor, every wood takes a stain differently. So the way to achieve a medium brown color is to test different stains until you get it right. There's no formula to achieve medium brown because every single floor is different. Just get your hardwood floor guy over, do some testing, and then decide which one works. And the way to choose that is if you have any case goods in your house, like a dining room set, or if you have wood stain cabinets, obviously your floor stain needs to coordinate with the existing wood stain pieces in your house. So the question to ask yourself about carpet is it timeless? No, it's not timeless. All you can do when you choose carpet is to pick the most trendy texture. And I'm going to talk about that some more in the next session. Here you can see the slide on the right is super trendy and bossy. This is not the picture we'd be pinning on Pinterest right now. It would be the image on the left with the clean floors and the beautiful banister. One of my readers sent me this picture on the top right, and I posted it in my Fix Your Color series. She was concerned on how to make that butterscotch yellow color on her walls relate to her new gray furniture. She was more concerned about that than the first place I looked at, which was the fireplace. In order for this fireplace to not scream dated, you need to incorporate it into the design of the room. A lot of men have issues with painting over stone or brick on fireplaces. When my sister and her husband moved into their current house, they have a much darker red-black floor-to-ceiling brick fireplace, and I said, "You guys should paint this." And my brother-in-law immediately said, "Well, then it's going to be 70s. Well, what do you think it looks like now? Obviously, the most inexpensive and easy fix would be to paint it, like the picture I've shown you below, or I would recommend installing something neutral, like the fireplace on the left with Calcutta marble and a simple mantle. You design your fireplace like the one on the left, and then you can forget about it and happily decorate your house forever." Now, you could do this, the stacked stone on the right, but it's so trendy. And a lot of people look at what's trendy now and think, if I had this stacked stone on my 70s fireplace, my house would be updated. But then they don't realize that when they're choosing finishes, how bossy they are and how they're simply replacing something that was trendy 20 years ago with the new trendy stone. In order to make this charcoal fireplace work, you'd need to incorporate charcoal into your living room decorating. But if you wanted to create this fresher look on the right, it wouldn't look as fabulous with this fireplace. I recommend this instead. Drywalling over top of it and installing a classic mantle, something in the realm of the image on the right. If you choose some kind of stone, most of it is really earthy. You would then have to decorate your house so that it matches. Your wall color needs to coordinate with your stone, and it now becomes like a pattern that you need to work around. You even need to be careful what kind of patterned area rug you choose so that it doesn't clash. I recently hit upon this blog that I wanted to post about, and I listed how to do it if you go to my Pinterest boards and look at the fireplace board. You can see how this blogger updated her earthy stone and made it so it coordinated with her new fresh color scheme. Now, if we're getting really picky, you can see that the white fireplace is a little too white for this living room. It probably would have been perfect if it was an off-white, but it's 100 times better than it was before. The existing earthy stone fireplace would not have looked good with her new fresh color scheme. I used to say you can't paint stone, but now you can do so many fabulous things with chalk paint that you couldn't do before. So I would look into that option if you have a fireplace that's bossing you around. One other thing I want to point out to you about fireplaces is a small scale tile is best because there's so little space to tile when you have a mantle around your fireplace. Much better than your average 12 by 12 inch tile. The other thing to notice about the tile on the left is it's earthy again. and it's bossy. It's yellow beige, and even though the wall color that's been chosen to go with this isn't exactly right because it should be toned down a little bit, it could have been a little more perfect, but right away, you're having to deal with the yellow beige tile around your fireplace. If you treat your fireplace like the picture on the right, then you don't need to be concerned with it when you start decorating your space. This image on the left was from a recent consultation where my client said, "We're not changing it. We're not taking it down. My husband likes it." So one solution I came up with is you could over-grout it like the image on the right. If your husband won't agree to painting the stone, maybe he would agree to over-grouting it and you could have the look of the house on the right. And here's the other thing about stacked stone and stone on a fireplace in general. It really does belong in a countrified house. It's not that it doesn't have a place. If you have a cabin in the woods, then choose carefully and add lots of wood into your decorating. That's what it will work with. And the last tip I want to tell you about fireplaces is, whenever possible, avoid installing a corner fireplace. Builders love to install corner fireplaces because it's cheaper to vent it to the outside, but it's not easy to arrange your furniture around it. So if you don't have to have a corner fireplace, then never ever make it your choice. It's never a good look and almost always done because it's a cheaper way to install a fireplace. Why bathrooms should be cream or white? Well, here's my reasoning. I have a friend who lives in West Vancouver, which has the most expensive real estate in Vancouver. They live in a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, but they don't have a view. They have a gorgeous garden and a beautiful house, but they wanted a view. So for the last 5 years, she's been looking for a house to buy with a view of the water. And she said to me, "Maria, I have seen all these brand new built homes and all these brand new renovations, and I don't want to buy somebody else's choice of granite. I don't want to buy the choices they've made in their bathrooms." So after 5 years of looking, she's now going to build her own house. Another friend who got married, had a new baby, and needed to move to the suburbs, called me after they'd been looking for a few months and said, "You would not believe the bathrooms and the mess and the tile that does not coordinate." Bathrooms are usually the worst because you have the floor tile, the surround tile, and the countertops, and nothing matches. It was all just so bad. She said if someone had just spent 2 hours with a designer who knew what they were doing, they would have got at least all the colors right. And the worst thing is they're all new and it's hard to justify ripping them out. My friend told me, "I can't buy these houses. I can't live with these bathrooms because they're so bad." She bought the one that was the least evil out of all of them. This bathroom I'm showing you is actually from a builder's website. You can see the tile surround has nothing to do with the granite countertop. And this is what we're all inheriting. This is what it is. We're not inheriting lovely white bathrooms with clean and simple subway tiles. If you inherited this bathroom right now, you'd be crying for subway tile. Here's a picture from the same house. This is the master bathroom in the house. The problem with this tile is it's so personal. It's like getting a very personal pattern of sofa, like a plaid, nailing it into place and expecting every future homeowner to walk in and love it for the next 20 years. This picture on the left is from a reader who asked me if she could pay me to tell her if she should buy this house. It had been on the market for a long time, a very expensive house with a beautiful view, and she said, "Is it too far gone? Is there anything I can do?" And I asked her, "Was this house built in the mid-90s?" And she said, "Yes, it was built in 1995. Obviously, this is not an inexpensive bathroom, but everything screams 1995. All of the sage green, which was the color before the brown trend in the early 2000s. If you install a bathroom like the one on the right, now, here's the bathroom we would all happily inherit. And that's the direction I would like you to move into. If you have a white bathroom, you can decorate it any way you like. And you can paint it every year if you get bored. Number 6, determine the boss of your house. Again, if you have an earthy fireplace like the one on your right, it's the boss and you need to decorate around it like they've done here. Whatever the architectural style of your home is, that's what your interior should look like. If you have a French country house, your kitchen should be French country. A few months ago, Irene helped a couple who could not agree on any of the choices they were making for the interior of their house. She said, "Maria, I totally channeled you. I told them you're building a French country house and you're looking at all these modern finishes for the inside of your house. You're not the boss of your house. Your house is the boss of you. So don't forget to consider the style of your house when you're making choices for the inside of your house. This bathroom is from the same house I showed you a couple of slides ago. And again, you can see this is not a cheap bathroom. A lot of money was put into this. And because it's so trendy, it's instantly dated as well. Patterned or bossy finishes generally scream, "Look at me, look at me." And that's why you need to limit your pattern to one for each room. If I had known this rule as a new designer, I would have been so happy because it took me years to come to this conclusion. You can include one pattern fixed finish per room. Every other hard surface must be solid. If you choose a granite countertop, then that's it for patterning the kitchen or bathroom. Now your floor tile needs to be solid or so subtly patterned as to read solid. Your backsplash now needs to be quiet and solid. If you have chosen a granite countertop with cream or white in it, then your backsplash is white or cream subway tile. There's not a lot of color choice in subway tile. It's usually white, off-white, or cream. So as long as you get something that's close, you're good. Going back to patterns creating the most limiting look, here's another perfect example, especially when you combine more than one pattern in the same room. I had a reader who emailed me this picture. She wasn't asking me whether I thought this was a good idea or not. She just wanted to know what color would work with the granite. Her husband wanted the granite on the right for their kitchen island and the granite on the left for the perimeter cabinets. This is still not the exception to that pattern allowance rule. You're still going to have a kitchen that has this look and feel. Maybe not quite as crazy, but once you get that granite cut and installed, it's not going to be beautiful. So if you're going to choose granite for your island, choose a solid for your perimeter cabinets. It's not bad or wrong if you love the look of granite. I know I sound like I'm trashing it, but that's because the people who approach me, they're not approaching me because their kitchen or bathroom is beautiful. Sometimes they are if they just need a wall color, but I get lots of emails and calls from readers who are unhappy with how their bathroom finishes or kitchen finishes look and they need help. I'm not saying everything should be patternless because now you have a modern house, but if you follow the pattern allowance rule of one pattern per room, you'll be much happier. Pick the one feature that you want to have say, look at me, and everything else should be quiet. I was with my accountant a few years ago and he was looking at my website. He saw one of the bathrooms and he said, "Oh, I wish I'd hired you to help us coordinate our powder room finishes. When my wife and I looked at our finished bathroom, we had a look at me countertop with a look at me floor." There were so many things that we weren't even sure what to look at. At least with this bathroom, the surround appears to coordinate with the granite. It's not completely a mishmash. There's a little more yellow in it, and I'm looking for the green because there's green in the surround. But still, there's a timeless look that I'm selling to you, and this is not it. Forever, your wall color in this bathroom is in the realm of a yellow beige like it is right now. A better option for tile is ceramic architecture. What that looks like is creating interest with the molding tiles or color blocking rather than pattern. And I'll show you more examples in our next video training. This is part of your homework for the next session. Make a list of your rooms and what you have to work around. We sometimes get immune to our own house. I did this when I was sourcing outdoor light fixtures for the front of my house. Because my accents inside the house are black, I automatically looked for black fixtures outside, and I couldn't find anything 2 years ago because everything was still oil rub bronze. Then I realized, wait, I have a brown roof. I have really light pinky taupey siding. It's not screaming, or it would have to be replaced immediately, of course, when I bought the house. But given that I have a brown roof, my lighting fixtures should be oil rub bronze. We can get so used to what we're looking at that we forget about the bossy features in our house that we just can't ignore. Step number 7 is this. Establish what color can do for your home. Here are the questions you need to ask. Can color create magic for me? Do I need to make a change somewhere? Do I need to ignore something? Here's a bathroom where a little magic did take place. The new color radically transformed this bathroom from the old murky greeny yellow color that was clearly chosen to coordinate with the tile in the shower surround. The majority of what you noticed when you walked in was the floor tile, and the right choice was coordinating the wall color with the floor tile, and it was a much prettier choice as well. Here's another example of when color can create magic. That's what my dated bathroom looked like when we took possession on the left. And on the right, that's what little wall paint, accessories, and new lighting can do. Know when a change must be made, when color can't create magic. I once spent half an hour with a client who had a countertop very similar to the one on the left with lots of golds and oranges in it. Throughout her great room, she had pink beige tile like the one you can see on the right. Her walls were painted the darkest butterscotch color you can see here in the kitchen, and she wanted a change. She wanted her room to feel fresher. After we spent half an hour going through all her options, none of them were still going to work with her pink beige floor tile. So at the end of our consultation, I said, you know what? You have the best choice for a wall color in your kitchen. There's really nothing else we can do. Adding a lighter yellow beige is going to clash with your floor. You don't have any green in your countertop, so we can't add that. The bottom line is this. There are lots of times when paint can create magic, but sometimes you have to make a change. When I went through all the colors and decided there wasn't another color and she had the best color for the room, she confessed that she had to make a last-minute granite substitution and she didn't have her floor tile with her, and that's why it doesn't match. And her husband, of course, assured her that it was never coming out. But at least now she knew she didn't have to spend a whole bunch of time and energy repainting her kitchen. She knew she had the best color. Know when something can be ignored. If you have a 4-foot by 4-foot area of tile like this, that's not where you're going to look to see where your wall color should be. This should not be the inspiration to paint your entire house. If you're trying to choose the main neutral, this is where you would ignore something. If you have a small fireplace around, you'll sometimes have to ignore that rather than have it dictate the entire color scheme. But it has to be small, and that's still a question you have to consider. So now we're back to the inherited bathrooms. I wanted to show you the choices that we made because you're going to be in the same position. We've got tile, you've got tile that you can't stand, or you have tile and countertops that don't relate. Here's the first bathroom. When working with my clients online, I get them to send me a picture of their flooring with a white piece of paper on it. This way I can see how creamy the white or cream is that's existing in the color or in the tile or countertop. So I've listed the choices for this bathroom on the right. Obviously, there would still be a little more choice in the gray because there's gray in the tile. She had bought all of my large color boards, so we were walking through them. She didn't want white in this bathroom. She certainly didn't want the orange because it felt dated. It's even doubtful if it's the right one because you can see that compared to the floor, it's brighter and pinker. If you're a designer listening to this, you need to know that without natural light in a room, it's really difficult to see the colors accurately, especially in tile. So for this online consultation, I left her with 3 or 4 grays and told her to line them up along the wall above the floor and pick the best one. For this bathroom, we chose green. She already had a green and white shower curtain to go with the black in the tile. And so we chose this fun green color to bring the bathroom to life. For the forest green bathroom, we chose Kittery Point green, which is a yellow green. Now, you could go even yellower, right? If you're looking at your fan deck or you want to write this down, you could also choose HC115 or HC116 Georgian green. This is a good example to answer a question I get a lot. Because forest green has a blue undertone, people ask if they need to choose a color with a blue undertone for the walls. So the answer is no. You're coordinating clean and dirty with colors. You're not trying to match or coordinate undertones. That's what you learned last week when we were talking about color. There were a few greeny beiges that would work for her master bathroom. We considered Manchester Tan, Collingwood, and Revere Pewter. Might have been a good choice. You can see the countertop and the floor don't belong together. And so for this room, you would look at which element you see most when you walk in. If it's the countertop, then Manchester Tan might be a better choice. I wasn't physically in this space, and so there might have been a lighter one that looked even better with these finishes, but overall, the point I want you to get from all of this is if you have 2 different undertones in the same room, you need to pick the one to coordinate with what you would notice the most. In this bathroom, I found a shower curtain that would pick up the colors in the floor tile and the countertop. Shower curtains can truly save the day in so many dated bathrooms as well. So that's what we did. When you're working through your worksheet, you'll want to notice where can color create magic in your renovation, where do you need to make a change, and what do you need to ignore. Step number 8 is about Noting the neutrals, whites, and colors, we've got 2 rules for each. The difference between rules and guidelines is this. When you know the rules, that's when you can break them. That's the bottom line. So these rules are great to follow, but obviously, as I touched on last week, there are so many rooms you can see, even in magazines, and find something to criticize. You can criticize the colors and the undertones, that they don't go together, but there are so many things that can still make the room, even if the room isn't that beautifully decorated. Beautiful windows, architecture, beautiful millwork. These are the other things that can sometimes mean you can break the rules. So I want you to look at all these rules as guidelines. The first rule for neutrals is to limit the number of neutral undertones you put together in one space. Keep it to 1 or at the most 2. Here I'm including an image on the right where the undertones are so obvious: pink beige sofa, yellow beige ottoman, and orange beige floor. And I'm including in this picture a travertine backsplash and a yellow gold granite because I really want to drive home the point that travertine is never neutral. It's always pink beige. Some of it's lighter, but it's still going to read pink beige, especially when it's compared to gold, yellow, or orange finishes. If you have a subway-shaped travertine tile and you compare it to your yellow granite sample, it looks really neutral before it's installed, but after it goes in, the pink will show. And that's why I wanted to create a special slide just to show you this. On the left, we have taupe floor tiles with green beige wall tiles. There's no relationship between the floor and the wall tiles. Really, the wall tiles should have been white, or they should have been taupe to coordinate with the floor tile. This is where the rule of how many undertones in the same room goes down to 1. There's no reason to have 2 undertones in the same small room. When the colors are of the same value and undertone, it makes no sense to change the undertone. Tile can be so deceiving. When you're looking at small samples, it can all look great together, but when it's installed and you get it all up, it can make your heart sink. Here on the right, you can see the paint relates perfectly to the floor tile. I love what they did with the tiled wall surround, but because they chose this more earthy floor tile, the painted wall color will be here forever. This would not be a bad bathroom to have, but again, you're limited in your wall color. I wanted to show you this picture. This client had a charcoal sofa facing her orange beige brick fireplace, and her wall color looked really green in comparison to the fireplace, and it really bothered her. But what was bothering this reader more than anything else was that neither her fireplace nor her wall color in any way related to her sofa. This sofa looks like it would have been the last thing purchased for this room. Her area rug looks like it's been around for a while, and they needed a new sofa, so they bought this charcoal one. Had they bought a new sofa 5 years ago, they probably would have purchased a brown one because that's where the trend is. I get a lot of questions like this where people let me know that their wall color really bothers them. But the first question you need to ask yourself if you are in the same situation is, what does this color relate to? There's a high chance it doesn't relate to anything. And if that's the case, that's why at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when it looks like baby poop, you don't like it. Neutral rule number 2 is don't mix pink beige with yellow beige, gold beige, or orange beige. The builder bathroom on the right is one I found, and how much more fabulous would this bathroom be if the tile was white? It would just be a thing of beauty. The tile currently is a very strong pink beige with an unrelated orange beige on the walls. And then we have the bathroom on the left where the pink beige doesn't relate to anything and is combined with the yellow beige shower tile and the more orange beige floor tile. Rule number 1 for whites: blue whites, true whites, and off whites belong with grays, blacks, and clean colors. See this bathroom that looks like it's painted Manchester tan? It looks like Manchester tan on the left and just a little more pinky on the right, but that's close to what the color is. It's combined with the Carrara marble around the tub and in the shower, and the color that works with this is from the blue-gray family. The green beige Manchester tan looks like the wrong color here. Manchester tan is more in the realm of earth tones because it's a beige, and the color that would work with the Carrara is a blue-gray or a green-gray, but definitely not any beige, and that's why I'm showing you the blue-gray on the right in the background of the tile, and then compared to the Manchester tan on the left. Here again, we have a charcoal floor with the sage green walls, and it just looks heavy and earthy. And see how the earthy bathroom on the right, how the fixtures look so screaming white? Rule number 2 is that creams and a few off-whites belong with beiges, browns, and earthy colors. Here we have really white walls with earthy green floors and an earthy countertop again. It looks like the tile is the same in the shower. It just looks a little different because you can see it through the glass. But there's no white in the tile floors, so the only color for the walls should relate to something in the tile. Because it's so earthy, the white really jumps out. When you have a black and white floor, this is when a color is required. These walls should be a fresh green or a turquoise or a light gray, because the beige just isn't as great with the black and white, although the yellow beige certainly works better than a pink beige or a taupe would. Color rule number 1, don't mix clean and dirty colors. Here you can see that the tile on the left looks so dirty because the turquoise that was chosen for the walls is clean. You can see that the yellow on the walls on the right should have been more muted to relate to the muted yellows in the floor tile. Color rule number 2. Color rules are different for decorating when they are when choosing hard finishes. When you're decorating, you shouldn't have more than 3 colors in a room. If you have more than 3 colors in a room, it starts to look a little bohemian, but you need to limit the colors in hard finishes to 1 or at the most 2 to avoid the same look. In the bathroom on the left, we have 1 color in the hard finishes, and the bathroom on the right, we have 2 colors in the hard finishes, and even that's a lot in this case. It's not a look for everyone, and it's easier to introduce blue in a paint color than it is in a tile. Here in this kitchen, you can see turquoise and green, and that's the max. No more than 2 colors. That's a good rule of thumb to keep in mind when you're choosing finishes. If you have more than 2 colors in your tile or your countertops, then you need to choose the neutral undertone of those finishes for your walls. See the bathroom on the left? The color on the walls should have been taken from the tile, especially as there is so much of it in this bathroom. And the color on the right, it actually matches the tile. So that's done correctly. The easiest way to choose is narrowing down the undertone and then using my large painted color boards. You just line them up on top of the tile and see which one matches the best. You want to make sure your paint colors and your finishes relate. These are 2 builder bathrooms that I found to show you. You can see that there's a purple granite countertop on the left and pink beige tile on the floor. And there's no relationship between the purple and the beige. It just doesn't make any sense why these finishes were introduced into the same room. And here on the right, there's a pink beige surround with the white granite countertop. And actually, this one's okay. I mean, now your countertop is at least neutral. They don't really relate, but the countertop reads more neutral. But you're still left with only 1 color to paint the walls, which is a pink beige to relate to the pink in the tile surround. Last week, I talked about the exception to the rule. Here's when you can be an exception to combining a clean and dirty color scheme, for example. This kitchen doesn't have a surround and has such a beautiful view right outside the kitchen eating area. When this client asked me if she should change the color of her kitchen, I said, no, I love this color. It looks great in here. So we just worked to make sure it coordinated with her adjoining great room by pulling the color into that room. Overall, because the granite is really kind of black and pink beige and reads as 1 color, kind of reads brown when you look at it in comparison with the fresh green on the walls. If you have something like that you think is bossy, you might be able to work with it if it reads a little more solid looking and doesn't have 2 or 3 distinct different colors in it. That's when you're forced to choose a color for the walls to go with it. The next step of your exercises is to make a list of the finishes that are staying and are the boss of the house. You'll then want to diagnose the undertones of every neutral and white and make note of any clean or dirty colors. Use the fan deck you would have picked up from a paint store and use it to color match all the neutrals, whites, and colors that are staying and are going to be a part of your decision-making process. This will make it really clear what you have to work with and what you need to eliminate to create flow. This is your homework. You're going to create the plan. You should have a download of all the fill-in-the-blank forms you've seen today so you can complete this exercise right in your own home. And by the time you finish filling them out, you should have a good idea of what you're shopping for and sourcing. Keep in mind yesterday and today, pattern allowance, and especially classic and timeless. So this could be one of the biggest and most important lessons you're going to learn from this webinar. Always, always take a sample from Whatever showroom supplier you're purchasing tile or granite or carpet, never leave without one. If you're buying $6,000 worth of quartz, get a sample. You absolutely must have one. And never choose anything new without first comparing it to everything else you've already chosen or that is staying in place. This is when the biggest mistakes happen. So many times you have to substitute something at the last minute, and if you've left your sample with your supplier, you don't have it to compare to, and that's when you make huge mistakes like the granite story I showed you earlier. You can't make these decisions without having everything together and then compare again and again and again. Until recently, you would choose an accent tile and you really couldn't imagine how it looked installed through your kitchen or bathroom, but now with Pinterest, there really isn't anything you can't find in an after picture. If you're thinking about Caesarstone's nougat countertop, you can search online and find a kitchen where it's fully installed. Now you can see just what it will look like in your home. Now you can see if it's something you can live with. When you see those samples on a small scale, it starts looking boring if you don't throw in more. But we're back to the truth that we don't want our hard finishes to be interesting. And they're going to look a lot less boring once you've got big pieces installed in your house. For example, you might be looking at this octagonal shaped tile on the left and think, wow, why don't I put this in a bathroom with some 4x8 Carrera wall tile? All of it all coordinates, it's all Carrera. I mean, this is not really breaking Maria's pattern rule, but then this is what it looks like. This was taken from a builder's website, and the previous slide just showed the small sample size pieces. So you need to be careful if you're looking at tile samples from a small scale because they can look benign and neutral, but when they're installed, they might get a little crazy and busy. Now, I mean, this is certainly not the worst bathroom I've ever seen. It's all Carrera. If this is a look that you like, then great. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it's so deceiving when you go from a small sample that looks so, it all matches, and then you put it all up and you have pattern everywhere. So remember, choosing finishes is the place where you want to be safe. You'll know you're on the right track if you think your finish selections look boring. Now you're well on your way to creating a timeless look and creating a home that fills you with happiness when you walk in the door. In our next session, we'll be talking about choosing finishes for new builds. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.